Straight talk from Israel. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
You're listening to Returning Home. I'm your host, Natalie Sapinski. It's been an interesting week. School has started, and it's been kind of difficult because the kids aren't all going back, and it's not normal. Even the school has run out of classrooms, so some of the kids just don't have a place to go. And, I never really pay attention to school. I'm not one of these helicopter moms. I'm actually bad that way, I admit. And my kids are very upset with me about it. I don't read the email, and I don't get their books on time. And I'm one of those parents who, just doesn't seem to care. I do care. I'm very busy, and it's not like the first thing on my list. My purpose for school is that the kids make friends. That's my whole thing. But in any case, school crept upon us, and the night before, a friend of mine came over and, helped me put the books into piles. I only have 2 kids going to school, but my younger one is 10 and my other one is 13, and my friend came over to help me organize their books. And while she was organizing their books in my house, and this is like, 8 o'clock at night, she told me that there's going to be a meeting that night of parents, because I had said I'll be happy to teach an English class to the kids, because I found out that my boy does not have school every day. He has school only twice a week. And the rest of the time he's supposed to be on Zoom, which I think is ridiculous and horrible. So I said to her, I'll teach English. I'll do an English class. I'll, play Scrabble with the kids and make pancakes or something. She said, that's great. Come to a meeting tonight. There's a meeting tonight of all the parents to talk about things like this. So I went, and I was very, very impressed. The meeting was outside in someone's porch, and people talked, and everybody got involved and got stuff done. Somebody took notes. Somebody's taking care of this. Someone's taking care of that. They're hiring a private teacher. They're going to try to get the baseball teacher. They're going to try to get a room. They're going to have the kids go to Beit Knesset in the morning. I was so impressed. I came away from that meeting thinking wow, Israelis really know how to solve problems. Yes, there are problems here. It's true. But they know how to fix them. They know how to solve them. Sometimes it's true. It's temporary. It's like putting on a Band-Aid. But they don't blame. They don't give up. They don't sit back and say, oh, there's nothing we can do. No, they don't do that. And I don't do that either. And I came away from this meeting thinking, okay, it's going to be okay. He'll learn from it. He'll learn how to solve problems. And I think that's something we can all learn. We'll be right back.
G'day, I'm Jono Vandor.
And I'm Ross Nichols.
Join us on our program, Israel on My Mind, a show that broadcasts all the weekly goodness that flows like milk and honey from the Holy Land straight into your ears with humorous and happy news stories.
New shows are posted every Thursday at 7 p.m. Israel time, highlighting the lighter side and advancing a positive view of Israel here on Israel News Talk Radio.
We're back to Returning Home. I'm your host, Natalie Sapinski, and joining us for this segment is my guest, Jonothan Caras, who is going to tell us how he has become a success in Israel. Welcome, Jonathan.
Hi, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Great. Go ahead. Tell us how you became a success. I understand you live in Neve Yaakov. Is that right?
Kochav Yaakov, the best town to live in the whole country. It's a little religious yeshuv. It's Haredi Dati Leumi, and it's about a 15-minute drive right out of Jerusalem, and has affordable housing. So definitely, if you're listening and you're looking for a place in Israel, come join us.
That's good to say.
80 English-speaking families here.
Very nice.
About 1,000 altogether.
Very nice.
So I'm 37. I've been in Israel since I was 20, so almost 18 years now. My background is in computers and math. I'm very passionate about that from a young age. I decided I wanted to. I was in yeshiva in Brooklyn. I grew up secular, and I became religious in high school. Just in a public school in high school outside of Washington, D.C. And When I was in yeshiva, I decided I wanted to live in Israel, and in order to make that happen, I knew that I needed to come here young. I needed to go to college here. I wanted to go to the army, but that didn't pan out. And somebody told me, if you want to live in Israel, you should go get married in Israel. And I took that to heart, and so I left America at the age of 20, and I came here with a with a backpack and what do they say, a sparkle in my eye and a prayer, something like that. I don't know the phrase, but so I came here, and I did a lot of odd jobs and some freelancing. Having a background in graphic design and programming, I could just work from a computer from anywhere. And I eventually did meet a lovely young lady from New Jersey. We got married and moved to Jerusalem. And I got my college education at Jerusalem College of Technology, and majored in computer engineering, software engineering. And I was very passionate about computers and about building applications. And in 2007, I got invited to become a developer for building iPhone apps. I was one of the first roughly 1,000 people in the world to have the opportunity to do that. And that was mostly through networking within Apple. Mm-hmm. So after that, I raised a little bit of money from family and friends, and I started a software house where I would help Israeli technology companies, primarily startups, primarily focused in Tel Aviv or the Merkaz. I would help them move or enter into the mobile space, because it was a very young space at that time. When we started, there wasn't even an app store. We were doing websites for mobile phones. And that really took off as the industry took off. Nowadays we all are clinging to our phones, our iPhones and Android phones. And so as that business grew, I really learned about what it took to run a successful startup and what it took to get to build a successful product in the market. So fast forward about 40 or 50 different clients and about 60 different projects. I had a team of 8 engineers. We were no longer working from my living room. When we first started, I had a kitchen table, and at 7:30 in the morning, I would have guys come in. I would set up a little workspace. They would work until about 9:30 at night. Break it down for Shabbos, and that's kind of how we lived for maybe 2 to 3 years. So it was it's always hard work, but I really believe that hard work is what pays it off. So a buddy of mine made Aliyah, and he had an exit from a nanotech startup that he had created, and he saw the team that I had put together, and he saw the areas of expertise that we had, and he said, I want to work with you. Let's build something. I have some investors. If we create something, then I think we could raise $1 million. So that was the pitch. And so we spent about 8 months doing market research and building prototypes and pitching prototypes to investors. We had probably somewhere between 50 to 80 investor meetings, all of them saying no, over the period of this time, until eventually we realized that there was a hole in the market, that it wasn't really easy to record a video and send it over your phone. Videos were clunky. They took up a lot of room on your phone. They took up a lot of bandwidth. That was expensive. WhatsApp was not very good at sending videos. Email was not good at sending videos. So we just focused on that. And we ended up realizing that there were some technical issues, and we overcame those technical issues, patented the solution, and then built a consumer company called Glide Video Messaging on top of that. Then we brought that to investors, and we ended up getting our first bite. So we raised about $175,000 initially, and then that was enough for me to stop my previous business and to bring all my employees over and to start this new company, Glide. So fast forward about that was in 2012. Fast forward till 2015. Now we've got 26 million subscribers to the network, mostly in North America. We're starting to earn revenue on the platform. We're in talks with Apple to to move the technology onto some hardware that would be specialized for Apple for their wearables. The Apple Watch had just come out, and we had raised about $45 million on the project.
Wow, that's very exciting.
Yeah, it was a great time to be part of the startup scene, especially in Jerusalem. Glide was arguably the first large scale startup, like the venture capital backed startup that Jerusalem had, since the invention of the internet. Obviously, there was old school tech, there was Intel and Nest and things like that.
Right.
But we were the first ones, in the 2000s. So we eventually were outcompeted by companies like Snapchat and Instagram. But we put up a good fight, and we learned a lot from it. And what I was most proud of that is that I built a company. When I first built my first company, I had to decide, was I going to hire engineers in India who cost, 10 to 20% of the price of hiring somebody in Israel, or was I going to focus on building a team here in Israel? And from an ideological perspective, it was really important to me that I worked with not just Israelis, but Olim. So I was able to, hire over the course of those 4 or 5 years that we had Glide, probably about 100, if not more than 100 Olim. So a lot of these guys and gals were their first job that they got, from coming to Israel was working for me. And it was even to the point that, people came and said, look, I want to make Aliyah. I'm looking for a job. Would you give me a shot? And so we had a number of people like that. So that was one of the things that I was most proud of the company, that we really enabled people, whole families to be able to come over.
Yeah, you did.
So then after that, I was actually, we did a wearables project. We did a Kickstarter, raised a couple $1 million on this attachment for the Apple Watch. And then I was actually contacted by representatives of the Kardashian family. They're a celebrity family in Los Angeles, because their daughter Kim wanted to create some type of high-tech app. And so she was looking for a technologist that would be able to help her with the project. So I worked with her for for almost 2 years. We worked together. I built a team in Israel to do the R&D for some of the projects that she wanted, and we ended up bringing to market a project called Screen Shop, which actually used the technology from an Israeli company called Sight. And what they were an artificial intelligence company, and we used some of their technology combined with a few other machine learning and computer vision things to make any Instagram feed shoppable. That was kind of the vision. And I presented it to Kim, and she loved it. And so we moved forward with that, and we built it, and we brought it to market. We sold hundreds of thousands of articles of clothing through that. We got over 1 billion page views to the stores that partnered with us. It was a huge success, and I think it was great that the technology was actually in homegrown here in Israel.
Yeah.
So after that, I was brought in as a partner at an investment firm, which is called LionshareCapital, and that's where I currently reside. And so I am a technologist, head researcher, analyst of LionshareCapital, and we focus on blockchain technology companies. So we invest in, we've got roughly, I manage right now a little under $10 million. The blockchain industry is still in its infancy, and it's only growing. And I think that we've returned we started with an investment of about $2.5 million, and we've grown that to almost $10 million over the past 2.5 years.
All right.
So the market's been very good to us, and our ability to identify what's going to grow in the market has been very good to us.
Sure.
And there's a lot of just thanking Hashem for it. You can't,
you're really booming. What is the name of this company? Say it slowly.
LionshareCapital.
Lion, like the big animal?
Yep, and then chain because we deal with blockchain.
Okay.
We chose Lion because of Jerusalem, and then chain because it's blockchain technology. And we're, we manage external capital, so capital. So LionshareCapital.
Okay. So stick around. We'll be back to hear more about this. I could not cut this conversation short. This is fascinating, and I learned a lot. I'm sure you will too. Stick around. We'll be right back, and we'll continue with Jonothan Caras after these messages.
Hi, everyone. This is Andrea Simonto from Jerusalem, inviting you to drop everything and join me on my show, Pull Up a Chair. We'll visit this week's quirky stories, meet fabulous guests, and discover my Israel. Together, we'll laugh, shout, and explain the topics that make us say, hey, we've got to talk about that. So get comfortable and pull up a chair with me, Andrea Simonto, every Thursday on Israel News Talk Radio.
Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Did you know this psalm and many others were composed by a Jewish shepherd and musician who later became a king? Would you like to know some of the inner meanings of psalms to help you connect with God and strengthen your soul? An exciting and easy-to-read book is now available which will help you do just that. Software for the Soul, Psalms for Everyone, available on Kindle, Audible, and Amazon.com. Software for the Soul.
Modesty at the beach? It isn't just about body image. It's about feeling good. Modest swimsuits, so we don't get burned by the sun.
So we won't get ogled by strangers.
So we'll feel free to express ourselves without the need to expose ourselves.
Let Marcy Modest help you to cover up what you want, how you want.
Made in Israel.
Visit marcymodest.com. That's MARSEA modest.com.
And get a 10% discount on your first purchase.
Welcome back to Returning Home. We are continuing our conversation with Jonothan Caras of LionshareCapital. So yes, Jonathan, please continue.
So it's we focus on not just cryptocurrencies, but also the companies that power cryptocurrencies. And here in Israel is actually a hub. A lot of people don't know this. Currencies like Bitcoin, were very popular in 2016 and 2017. And actually, they're more popular than they are today. It's just not in the news. But in terms of the amount of people that are using it every day is actually much higher than it was then.
Explain
it's just not a retail market.
Yeah, if you could, explain what cryptic currency really is in simple English language.
Sure. So money for thousands of years was created through commodities. So that's why you might be familiar with, in Hebrew, we use the term kesef, which means silver. Mm-hmm. So there's, if a government wants to mint a coin, then they actually need the silver. And this is very important because it prevents a government or a society from hyperinflating the currency, which is what all of their citizens get paid in. So so gold also spent many, hundreds, if not thousands of years as the main currency. And there was a process from World War I up until the 70s, actually 1971, to be specific, that there was a decoupling of the US dollar, which is the reserve currency of the world, from gold. So we went off the gold standard. And since we went off the gold standard, the buying power of the dollar has diminished by roughly 95 to 98%. You've probably heard stories of your grandparents being able to go to the movies on a nickel and a dime. A nickel gets you in, a dime gets you the popcorn and the soda. Right. So why is it that everything costs more today? Well, it's because of the fact that there's inflation. And inflation really eats away at our savings and makes the value of our money lower. Right. So the way that historically that's been prevented was by having commodity money. So Bitcoin was the first commodity money that was created after the decoupling of the gold standard. And Bitcoin it's an optional currency, meaning nobody has to use it. It's not backed by any government or anything like that. But there's 21 million Bitcoin in the world. there will only be 21 million Bitcoin. Anybody can run the Bitcoin network. You can run it on a cell phone, on a computer, or anything like that. And it's an open source project that nobody can control. Nobody can stop. So nobody can make less Bitcoin. Nobody can make more Bitcoin. Nobody can turn it off. And what we're seeing now is that more and more, especially with the printing of money that's happening today, I don't know if you know, but in the last 6 months, the U.S. government printed more money than they have in the entire history, going back to 1776. They printed more money in the last 6 months than they did in the entire history of the U.S. Government.
Yeah, I did hear that. It's like Venezuela.
Exactly. So just like how Israel had financial collapse in the 70s, and we went off the lira, and then we started the shekel, and then they had economic collapse with the shekel. This is all from hyperinflation, because when a government creates debt, it just solves that debt by printing money. So what's the consequence of printing money? Is that you actually you're almost stealing that money from the next generation of people. Yeah. So the invention of Bitcoin was created by an anonymous group of programmers about a little bit more than 11 years ago, and they released the source code into the world. They explained how it could be used, and today anybody that wants to perform economic action denominated in a digital commodity money can choose to use Bitcoin or any of its derivatives in order to do that.
Yeah. So
that's
the
thesis.
How do you get some? I mean,
it's the same way. How would you get? How would you get a Chinese yuan or a Japanese yen? You have to convert.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, exactly. You trade. You could be a node operator in the network, but you have to be somewhat technical in order to do that. It's not really relevant for most people. So the companies that we invest in are the companies that are using this technology in order to create financial businesses that allow for global borderless advanced financial services, such as borrowing, lending, collateralized debts, derivatives, margin trading, basically rebuilding everything that's happening on Wall Street, but instead of it existing between the Federal Reserve and a small group of people, it can actually work on a global scale.
For everybody.
So yeah, exactly, for everybody. So it's obviously, it's not, you have to do your own research, and there's no financial advice, but I think that the message and the reason that cryptocurrency came into existence, that Bitcoin was invented, is more relevant today than it ever was. And especially if you are somebody like, like a Jewish family that's living in Chutz La'aretz, that is is concerned about your savings, because it's very dangerous now to put your there's almost nowhere to store your savings in. If you put it into dollars, that it's being hyperinflated. If you put it into the stock market, we have no idea. People have been out of work for 6 months, and the stock market's at an all-time high. How that makes sense, I have no idea. But I think that it's that just how it was a tradition to have a little bit of gold, and gold is a great thing to own, because there is a limited amount of gold. The problem is that gold's heavy, and gold can easily be taken away, and gold can't be transmitted over the internet. You can't send gold in a WhatsApp message. Yeah. So the fact that there's only 21 million Bitcoin means that it has all the same properties of gold, but it works on WhatsApp, and that's and we live in a digital age, and that makes all the difference. So this wasn't what I came to stand on the soapbox to talk to you about, but I do think, and this is something that I tell my family, and and I tell my Jewish brethren living in Chutz La'aretz, that if you aren't taking a good look at what's happening on a global scale from an economic perspective, and think about how this is going to impact your children, I don't want to give you any financial advice, but you at least should take half an hour and just do some Googling and try and come to your own conclusion, because the world is changing, and it may not be changing for the better. And that's and it's just up to us to try and make it better, which is what I try and do every day. And that's every day I wake up, and I'm thankful that I live here in Israel. I'm thankful that I have 3 beautiful, healthy children and a beautiful wife, and an amazing community. And I just feel like I want to be able to help as many other people achieve, be able to have the success that I've been able to achieve. And I think that Israel is a particularly interesting place because it's really a meritocracy. Really is that if you come to Israel with a hand waiting for somebody to put something in your hand, you're probably not going to be successful. And I've seen a lot of people come to Israel with that attitude of Magi'a li, that's what they say in Hebrew, like I deserve it. Yeah, and that hasn't really been, that I those types of people.
But listen, that doesn't work for anyone anywhere. That is not a recipe for success.
It's definitely not for long-term success.
I mean, how can you be successful taking? You're only successful giving.
That, and we say this, Chazal has taught this, like it might even be the pshat in the Chumash is that nobody ever goes poor through tzedakah. That Hashem. That's right. When you give tzedakah, you grow. When you give tzedakah to somebody, you say thank you to them because they give you an opportunity to share. No. And there's a big difference between when a tax person comes and takes the money from you, or when you go and give it. But you shouldn't have to wait for somebody to take what you've earned. You should have the mindset of that. I just want to give it because through giving it, I think that's the best way to bring goodness onto yourself.
That's right, and it's another nice thing. I don't know who told me this, but it's not ours. Money is not really ours. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the thing is that hard work doesn't necessarily mean success. There's plenty of people that I know that worked much harder than me and were much smarter than me, and just for whatever reason, just didn't achieve the same success that I achieved.
Well, wait, slow down, because you're saying success as if everyone has the same idea of success. There are lots lots of measures. I mean, I think I'm a success because I swam, 15 laps today. There are people who make much better chicken than me, and they're a success in my eyes. There's all kinds of success.
I think the general definition of success is that if you wake up every morning and you're excited, then you're successful.
I like that. That's great.
Yep. It's it doesn't matter what it is that you're doing. It doesn't matter if you've got you don't have a dime in your pocket. If you wake up and you're like, I'm so excited just to live today, then that is a great position to be in. And I really hope that everybody can achieve that.
Me too. That's if that happens, and I think it happens here. And
again, I'm thank you so much for having me. Again, I'm Jonothan Caras. I'm pretty easy to find online, Caras. I'm pretty active on Twitter, Madcaps Laugh. Absolutely. I'm always happy to talk to anybody, especially if you have questions about how to be, how to plan your future life or your children's life living in our homeland.
Wonderful. Thank you. Great, Jonathan. Glad we did this.
All right. Yeah, it was fun.
And I think it's really fascinating that you can come to Israel and reach these heights, these professional heights, this startup nation. Yeah, it's happening. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Are you interested in transforming your life, drawing closer to the Creator, and uncovering the deeper meanings and hidden treasures in the Hebrew Bible?
Then join me, Rav Yitzhak Michelson,
and me, William Hall,
on the Science of Kabbalah, where we are seeking to narrow the gap between what we understand of our physical and spiritual worlds. So make sure to tune in every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Israel time, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, here on Israel News Talk Radio.
And we're back. Welcome to Returning Home. We are speaking with Barbara and Matt Zucker from Philadelphia area. They recently made Aliyah, I think in the last week, and they're in bidud, we call that isolation, here in Israel. I believe they're at the Dan Panorama Hotel, and they can tell us all about this because this is what's going on in Israel ever since the coronavirus has taken over the world. Israel has done an amazing job in various areas, and one of the things they've done, which is phenomenal, is setting up corona hotels whenever people come from abroad. And they just opened up flights recently, but they do this. They set hotels up. The government has put these people right from the airport. Jeff, the two of you are going to tell us how you got there. Welcome to Israel. It's unusual. Most people don't move to Israel and go right to a hotel for 2 weeks, but tell us all about it.
Well, you're right. We landed a week ago tomorrow, Thursday. As soon as we got off the plane, Nefesh B'Nefesh escorted us through, the whole process of absorption and all the paperwork and what have you. We then had a Army escort to our grand coach bus. There were 4 of us on the bus, and they took us to the Dan Panorama. We got up. We had a briefing. We were basically told, you'll go to your room. We will bring you meals.
Slow down. Okay, you made Aliyah. You're in the airport.
Yes.
You walk out. Nefesh B'Nefesh is probably there with a sign, right? Welcome to Israel.
Yes.
What about your luggage? Where's your luggage in all this? Just you're dragging it around with you?
No. That met us later on in the process.
The baggage claim.
Yeah, after Aliyah, after all the paperwork, right? Yeah. So we didn't have to deal with our luggage. It was just sitting there waiting for us when we were done all of that.
That's so great.
The airport was empty.
Yeah, sad.
Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah, really sad. Really weird.
Yeah. All right. So I just couldn't imagine you dragging your luggage with you from one place to another.
No, they were great. I mean, there's this whole greeting area, and they had a briefing, and there were sandwiches, of course, snacks everywhere. And yeah, it was fine.
How many people made Aliyah with you on that flight?
They said there were 60 on the flight, but we really didn't interact much with any of the other Olim.
On purpose?
Yeah.
I mean, no, yes and no. It was just.
How did you know that? How could you tell? Wait. How could you tell who was an Oleh and who wasn't?
Name tags.
And we were all brought to the processing center, so we were all wearing Nefesh name tags. So anybody who was on the flight who wasn't making Aliyah got to get their bags and leave.
Okay, fine. So after the flight, you knew who they were, not during.
Yeah, right. Of course.
Well, actually, at the airport, they make you wear the name tags at the airport when you're checking in, so that everybody can identify you and make sure that you're doing what you have to do. I guess.
You mean the airport You mean the American airport?
Yeah.
And
there was all this funky paperwork we had to do from the Ministry of Health and Foreign Affairs. That all the COVID questions.
Okay, interesting.
Literally, we were sitting waiting for our ride to the airport, and Matt checks his email right before he's going to shut down. And there's this whole new form we have to fill out.
Please print this out.
You must have it and print it.
Please print this out and fill it out and have it with you. We had to submit it. We had to print it out, fill it out, and then submit it. 20 minutes before my ride to the airport for Aliyah was coming. I was like.
Fortunately, our ride was late. So.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay. So go on. So tell me what happened. You get to the airport, you get to the hotel. When you say there's a briefing, what do they do? You go into an auditorium?
At the airport?
No.
It was
No, not the airport.
No, in the garage. I mean, it was literally the 4 of us, and we were in the outside garage, and a couple of soldiers in uniform and hospital gowns met us and kind of told us how things are going to work here. You'll go to your room. We will call you once a day and make sure that you're okay. We will bring you 3 meals a day. You'll put your trash out. We'll bring you sheets and towels twice a week. You can change them yourselves. Call us if you need anything.
Mm-hmm.
That was it.
No alcohol, drugs, or weapons.
Oh, right. They did say that. They didn't say that, but we read that on the page.
Really? No alcohol? Why not?
Drugs or weapons.
I don't care about the drugs. Why wouldn't you
They
allow?
don't want people. They don't want people. My guess is they don't want people like bouncing off the walls and getting hammered.
Okay.
But I'll tell you, since it's just us talking, we went to duty free and stocked up. So.
Okay. I would hope
And I
so.
would tell anybody. And
Don't tell anyone.
I would tell everyone, if you're going to get locked up for 14 days, stop at duty free.
Yeah. I mean, come on. Plus Shabbat, you know? I do.
Yeah. I mean, on Shabbat, they'll bring you a little thing of grape juice.
Grape juice and challah.
Yes, but grape juice is not wine. Okay, so great. So go on. So you're getting your little meals, like the same meals my kids got at school. I see. Like it's like in a little foil thing at the top, right?
It's like a plastic tray. Breakfast, it'll be filled with 3 different kinds of dairy. You know, do you want labneh, cottage cheese, or yogurt? Always a little bit of fruit, maybe a salad. Always a roll for each of us, a big pumpkin roll, and that's usually breakfast.
What time do they
lunch
come?
Between 6 and 8.
Oh.
For breakfast.
Do they knock on your door? Wait, listen. Do they knock?
Every meal they knock, not breakfast. Lunch and dinner they knock, but they don't knock breakfast.
Okay, they just put it on the ground?
I know that because today we were up early. Lunch and dinner are sort of the same-ish. Generally meat, generally hot, generally okay, occasionally good. But there was the moist boiled meat night.
Sausage.
Moist boiled sausage. Yeah, I used Google Translate to translate what it said on the packaging of it. Looked like turkey, like processed turkey meat. So I Google Translate.
Okay.
And it came up moist boiled.
So you had to stay in your room. Now this is I got
room.
Right?
Yes.
You have to.
Yeah, we're asked not to even open the door when they drop the food. They put it on the door handle and knock, and we're asked to wait a couple seconds so that we don't, interact with them.
All right. So I have to tell you something funny. Like, I think it sounds horrible. It sounds like jail. To me, it sounds like jail. Okay. But when they started, okay, well, to you it sounds like jail too, because you're an adult. But when they started this months ago, and my children heard that they're going to hotels, they were so excited. They were like, wow, they get to stay in the room on a soft bed and clean sheets and showers. Oh, they're so lucky. That's what they said. I thought that was so funny.
They're not entirely wrong, though. Look, the process of Aliyah was very hard. The last week, the goodbyes, the packing, the decisions, the paperwork, the stress, the this, the that. I mean, so many things. It has been a really hard month getting here. And so I don't entirely hate the decompression time. At least like most people, they'll tell you, and now the work's going to begin. Like we know we have to set up our bank account. There's so many things we still have to do. We get a moment to breathe.
Yeah.
I could have, a week is nice. 2 weeks, it's a bit much, but it's not entirely horrible. It really isn't. And there is a gift to it.
I agree with you. You're right. It's a forced vacation, really.
Well, I don't know what goes so far as vacation.
I mean, you can't leave. You're on your computer. What'd you say?
Vacation has alcohol. I wouldn't go quite that far.
Well, that's what I mean. You have alcohol, so you're fine.
Right. That's true. But
we're rationing it.
Rationing it. Okay. You can do it. It's only 2 of you. It's okay. And it must be hard for people who don't get along. That would be horrible.
I don't know how you could do it. I don't know.
You force yourself to get along.
Families get adjoining rooms so they can spread out a little. It's a little more. We have I guess a 1.5 meters by a 0.5 meter wide balcony, but we're getting gorgeous sunsets. Every single night's been different.
Okay. So this is your Aliyah story. This will be part of your story. Exactly. You moved during the coronavirus. It's everybody has something going on. My kids went back to school, and I talked about this earlier earlier today. But my daughter doesn't have a classroom, so they put them in one of the Moadona club room in the yeshuv, and my son goes only 2 days a week, so they had to find a room for him. He's going crazy. I mean, he's like, what are we supposed to do? I don't understand this. And the parents are awesome. They got together, they organized what to do. We hired a teacher, and they're actually having we found a club room, and parents are taking turns, and it's getting organized. But he has his own. He'll have these memories, just like you have your memories, right?
Yep. It's certainly a fascinating time to.
It is. It is, and if you look at the way things are getting done and being handled, as opposed to complaining, it's all good, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, they really do run a good operation here. It's fascinating. This is possible because they make it possible.
Yeah.
Everything that is going to happen has happened exactly as they've said it will. They've been very clear, and there's been a lack of hypocrisy. They have kept us isolated, and I've been impressed. I don't like it, but I've been impressed by the completeness with which they're doing.
Beseder. Okay, so enjoy the rest of your time with a forced vacation and sunset.
Thank you. Awesome.
And you're creating memories. It's very nice.
Thanks, Natalie.
Very nice. Thanks for listening. We'll meet here next week, same time. Bye-bye, everybody.
If you love Israel News Talk Radio, then you'll love our Facebook page. We keep you up to date on what's happening in Israel, plus little surprise treasures that we don't share on the radio. Go now to follow us on Facebook. Just look for the Israel News Talk Radio Facebook page, and don't forget to subscribe and follow us by clicking on the like button. We post great stuff there that you'll want to share. Israel News Talk Radio on Facebook and Israel News Radio on Twitter.
If you're hearing this message, everyone else can too. Advertise with Israel News Talk Radio and get your message out to people. We'll build a personalized package for you. Contact advertising at israelnewstalkradio.com.
Straight talk from Israel. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
Hey, this is Jake in Anchorage, Alaska, and I love listening to all the super interesting interviews and up-to-date information on what's happening in Israel.
Hello, this is Anna King, originally from London, now living in Israel. And what can I say? Israel News Talk Radio is my cup of tea.
My name is Bhaskar. I'm from India, and I love listening because you get to know the truth and wonderful voices from this lovely country.
Mom! Okay, wait a minute. Hi, this is Chava Dax, and I'm calling from the rolling hills of Ma'ale Adumim, just north of Jerusalem. I always listen to Israel News Talk Radio to get all the latest news and commentary and to keep me up to date every day.
This is Sarah Dax from Ma'ale Adumim, and I'm 12. I wish Israel News Talk Radio was boring so my mom wouldn't listen to it all the time. Mom!
You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.
News, opinion, and more. You're listening to Israel News Talk Radio.